Hi, I've accepted.
Awesome.
All right. Hi, everybody. Hi. All right. I put together a few things. Becca had asked me to talk about Medicaid, and there's been quite a bit that's been going on with Medicaid in particular. And Becca, I completely forgot to share this link. I am very sorry about that. So I'm not sure how many folks are on. I'm not really able to see and stuff, but
We had about 30 people sign up in advance to either that they could either be here tonight or if they couldn't be here wanting a recording of the
okay.
conversation.
All right. Let me see how to share here. What do I do?
On the bottom, there should be like a green
Yep.
square with an
Oh,
arrow.
I see it. Yep, I clicked it. Okay. So I'm gonna, like I said, I had a few things that I'm going to show you guys, but probably the first thing that I want to show you is this right? Share. Okay. Is this. It's old, and I went through this to kind of figure out like which ones would actually work and stuff best for this. But anybody that is looking to get on the Medicaid waiver program, or is on the Medicaid waiver program, on the iBudget waiver program, has to have Medicaid. That's the basis for the funding. So this right here, this is actually an old PowerPoint. I'm having trouble here. I'm gonna hit mute, whoever that is. Um, this is an older PowerPoint, so there's a couple of slides on here that are outdated, but the information is still pretty much the same. But I went through it to make sure that I knew which ones would be applicable. So this one right here, this is pretty important. If there is somebody who has SSI, they have their Medicaid directly attached to that SSI. When SSI ends, and it ends when that adult disabled child starts to collect Social Security under their parent, as an adult disabled child of a parent who's either retired or deceased. Hang on, I gotta mute this other person. Um, so when SSI ends, the Medicaid attached to it also ends. So then it's necessary to apply for Medicaid in the DCF portal, which I'm gonna also show you guys that as well. But under this, our agency provides support coordination services, and I'm not sure exactly like who is on here and who might be receiving services through our agency, but uh, the support coordinator is there to, help coordinate supports and services, but also to help with Medicaid and maintaining eligibility, and also if somebody drops off of Medicaid, helping to get it back in place, since you need to have Medicaid in order to receive services under the iBudget. But when SSI ends, and we need to apply for Medicaid through DCF, all the income and the asset limitations, that stays the same. And it's really important to have an understanding of what those are. So there's few forms that have to be completed. And this one in particular, the 2515, this is not a form that you guys would complete as family members or providers. The support coordinator completes the 2515, but it is an exceptionally important form. So it's important for you guys to, I think, be educated on that. It's an easy form to fill out. This is what it looks like. It's not difficult to fill out. Person's information goes on it, the case management agency, where the client lives, but it's a form that the coordinator fills out, and this form basically signifies to Department of Children and Families that this is a person who is on the iBudget Medicaid waiver program. And so there's a lot of different Medicaid categories out there. There's only particular ones that work with the waiver program. So this form is supposed to signify to that DCF worker who gets the case, oh, this is somebody that's on a waiver. They need to be on this type of Medicaid so that it's compatible, so that they can receive services. So let me see, what's that? This is all part of the 2515. So it's 7 and 8. All right, I'm on page 11. Let's see. Now, this is very important. Eligibility. Eligibility, with the iBudget waiver, you have to be a client of APD. So in order to be a client of APD, you have to have a developmental disability. Once that's been established and you are a client of APD and you need to have Medicaid, if you don't already have SSI, or if you had it and you need it through Department of Children and Families, if SSI ended, then it's really important to keep in mind that Medicaid asset limitations and income limitations, doesn't matter if you have it through SSI, doesn't matter if you have it through the Department of Children and Families, it's the same. You have to keep your assets, and your income has to be under a certain amount. Although there is a little bit of a caveat to that with the income and stuff, but assets are different. So with that, also, this is important to know, which I think that mostly anybody that's going to be in the agency for persons with disabilities is going to meet this criteria anyway, because they have to, being a Florida resident, having a social security number, proof of ID, that sort of thing. So that kind of just goes without saying. But this right here, I'm gonna pan off of this for a second, because the income, this is an older slide. Oh, do I have to like reshare again? Probably do, right? Is that how that works with this? Hang on. Let me see. I think I want to get to, hey, Becca, with, all right, you know what? I think this will bring me to the Google link. Let me see here. It did. So, but I want to look at, I'm sorry, you guys, I'm really not like super good with Zoom stuff here, so it's gonna just take me a second to figure this out. I wish there was a way to just share the whole thing, so that I could skip around. There's that. I apologize, but I'm not seeing the other. All right, let me try this for a second. Are you guys, if anybody could like unmute yourself and tell me, are you able to see this one that says what you need to know about Florida Medicaid
Yeah, we see
working?
it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Can you see this then? The income when I flipped over?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. So the income now, as well, this is actually of 2024. I haven't been able to find the updated one, but is less than 28-29 per month for somebody to qualify for Medicaid. If you are a married couple, and this is on the waiver program, and I am going to focus solely on what's needed for the waiver program, because there are other Medicaid programs out there that you can make more than that 28-29 a month, in your income, but you're not going to qualify for full Medicaid. What I'm talking to you guys about is the qualification for full Medicaid, which is what is necessary to be on the iBudget, or to receive services on iBudget. So now it's 28-29 a month for an individual, but what's there, like I said, there's a little bit of a caveat to that. This legislation was passed in 2019 or became effective, I think, in 2020, it says. But you're actually, like, if you are somebody who is working, you're actually able to earn more than that monthly amount that they have on there. And like right here, it says, and this is actually an older figure. I haven't been able to find the updated one for this, but an individual could actually earn up to 86, $100 a month, basically. But this is for people who are working full time, full time only. They have regular Social Security and they need Medicaid in order to help pay for their services. And we have two people in our agency who have, they have full-time positions. One of them has cerebral palsy, the other one has spina bifida, but they don't earn enough at their jobs in order to pay for the services that they need to help them live in in their homes, but they are allowed to exceed the usual Medicaid income. So they do have some, ways to be able to do that. But I'm going to go back to that PowerPoint. So there is that kind of exception for the income part of it, but when it comes to the here we go. When it comes to the assets and stuff, that's a little bit different. So the asset limit, unfortunately, has not changed in a very long time. It is still $2,000 a month in your checking and savings account combined. If you have more than that, and now we're starting to have folks that are getting social security checks that are over $2,000. So it's like the minute that social security check is deposited into their account, they're already like over the asset limit for Medicaid. So it's like the bills have to be paid very quickly. Or the other thing is that there are Medicaid allowable assets like an ABLE account or a special needs trust. And I'll talk a little bit about those in particular, but the asset limit in a regular checking and savings account, and it's combined. So if you have somebody that has a checking and a savings account, they can't have, $1,900 in one and $1,500 in another combined. That's over $2,000 combined. It has to be below that. And also, if somebody has a CD, that's not a Medicaid allowable asset. That would also count in the $2,000 limit. So it's tricky. Like if you want to be on the iBudget waiver and you have to meet those Medicaid guidelines, the best thing is to not have a bunch of different, uh financial products, I guess. Like you don't want to have, and we've had this before. Well, we'll get somebody onto, the waiver, and we're trying to get them, Medicaid, and they have a CD, and they can't cash out the CD because there's still another, 11 months on that. They have a bank account, they have a checking account, they have a savings account. It's just, like the best thing to do is to not have that many assets for, like where you're keeping your money at if you are going to qualify for full Medicaid. But when you get to if you do have something like that, or if you're a parent and you want to leave money to your child and stuff when you're passing away, you would set up something called a special needs trust. And that's something that you would need to do with an attorney. But I have been able to get Medicaid in place for people. Sorry, this just like skipped forward. I've been able to get Medicaid in place for people that have, and I'm not kidding, I'm not over exaggerating this, that have special needs trusts that are in excess of 800 or $900,000. So almost $1 million that they have in a special needs trust. And we've been able to get Medicaid for them. And you might be asking, like, why in the world would anybody need to be on this program when they have that kind of money? Because that doesn't last for that long. And some folks, and I have a couple that I personally serve, they do have pretty big trusts, but they don't have anybody else in their life. They don't have any other family or anybody there, and they need somebody like a support coordinator who's going to be able to help connect them to supports and services. But we use those trusts to supplement. It's not just, paying for vacations and stuff. They'll pay for, like dental services, so they don't have to go to a Medicaid dentist per se. If they want to have a companion and they have a bunch of personal supports paid for under the waiver, then maybe that trust can be used to pay for a private pay companion for them that, we can pay a little bit more than what would be under the waiver program. So it's, there's definitely ways to be able to get Medicaid when somebody has that kind of money, but it does have to be in a special needs trust. If you're finding that you have, let's say, Social Security check is deposited, it's $1,900 after the rent is paid and utilities are paid and everything's paid, the person has like, $500 left over. Well, it doesn't take long for that to accumulate to be like $2,000. Now all of a sudden they're over the asset limit. That's when it's actually a good time to possibly look at having something called an ABLE trust account. It's very easy to open. I probably should have just stayed on this, but I'm going to go to this there. Share. I'm going to go to this web right here. This is an the Able United web page, and it's just ableunited.com. You can open an account right here. It takes less than 5 minutes, and you link your, checking or savings account to the Able account. You can set it up to where it's like automatically deducting a particular amount of money. Like as soon as the Social Security check hits that day, the next day, it's automatically transferring a particular amount of money into the Able. The Able, you are able you are able to save up to, I think it's $18,000 a year. I think it's a little bit over that now that we're in 2025. But last year it was 18,000 a year, and you're allowed to accumulate up to $100,000 in your Able account. You can use that money. It's easy to put money in and take money out. Whereas a special needs trust is usually for a lump sum of money, like, $100,000, 200,000, or, in the couple of cases I said before, like $900,000. And then that's set up by an attorney, and the money is actually just kind of deducted from that. A special needs trust is not something that you're able to continue to deposit money into. It's just to be able to take money out of. Whereas the Able account, you're able to put money in and take money out. But let's say that you wanted to leave your loved one, $75,000. You would not be able to just put that into an Able account, because the maximum amount that you can put in a year's time is 18,000. So if you had 75,000, you would really need to kind of look at putting that in a special needs trust if you wanted to, leave that to that person. So there's a area right here that has frequently asked questions, FAQs. So you could, look, just read through this, but this is a Medicaid allowable asset. So you can accumulate more than that $2,000 that you can have in your checking and savings account, and you could put it into an Able account, and you could set it up for automatic deductions. And this is something that is only open to people who have had a disability prior to the age of 26. So in order to qualify for APD, Agency for Persons with Disabilities, you have to have a developmental disability, which means that needs to have been diagnosed prior to the age of 18. But for the Able account, that is prior to the age of 26. So there's a little bit more leeway in case you do know of somebody who sustained a disability, in their early 20s or something. This is something that they could do, set up. So back to this. With the income, I'm gonna keep going on. So this is where it talks about a trust, which I just did. And the the trust, when we're applying for Medicaid for somebody and they have a special needs trust, we actually have to submit the documentation for that special needs trust to the Department of Children and Families. We have to submit the entire trust, all of the legal documents for it, the signature page, everything. And we also have to submit wherever it's being kept, we have to submit that as well, like a statement from where that special needs trust is kept at. We have to submit all of that to DCF in order for them to approve, the Medicaid. And let's see, assets, we did that. So this is also important to, realize that you can have a house when and be on Medicaid. So I know this is something that I've been asked by families before, like, if I want to leave my house, if we want to leave our family home to our loved one, are we able to do that? Yes, you can. As long as that house is not worth, now again, keep in mind, I'm sorry, this is an old PowerPoint. I don't have a new one, but the home, like this was like from back in I don't know, I think like 2017. And the home equity part, or I guess what the value of the home is worth, was over a $500,000 back then. I know that it's more now. I think it's like it's over 600,000 that your home could be worth. You can leave that to your loved one and they can still have Medicaid without a problem. They're also allowed to have a vehicle, and like the other things that it says on here, you can have a burial contract as well. So if you have something that's set aside, that's like $10,000 for final expenses, there's a particular form that can be filled out with DCF to be able to say, okay, that's what this money is for in particular, and they won't count that as an asset toward that $2,000 limit and stuff. So there's definitely ways to go about it. So one of the things that I had said before was the countable assets, like having a CD. That's right in with that $2,000. So there's no way around that. Insurance policies, if somebody has a whole life insurance policy that they can cash in, that's also counted with that $2,000. So if you have a whole life policy that's worth like, $1,000, that means that in your checking and savings account, you can't have more than $1,000 there, because that right there would be $2,000. So just, keeping those things in mind, it's very important. And then let's see, special needs trust. There's one other thing I want to go back real quick. Here, was it 17? Yeah. Hang on one second. Let me look for something here. There is something that's called a qualified income trust. I don't think that it has it on here. There isn't. All right, so a qualified income trust, and this is real, I don't want to get too in the weeds with this, but that is if you have somebody that is, exceeding the amount of income that they're supposed to have per month, like that one thing that I had showed you online. There is also something else called a qualified income trust, where their money can go into that qualified income trust, and then bills can be paid from that. We have somebody that has one of those set up, and her situation is very unique. She's not working full time. So this, and I'm going to show you, I'm going to go back to this. Where is it? Is that it? Is it the able? I think this is it. So I'm back. Yes, I'm back online. So this thing that I had opened up before, how do I get this top bar to go? There it goes. It's going away. This thing that I opened up before, this is just for folks who are working full time and exceeding the income limit, which is the 28.29 a month. For somebody, the qualified income trust I was just talking about, the person that we have in our agency that has a qualified income trust set up used to be a school teacher. So she has a small pension from being a school teacher. Her husband was a veteran, and she also has Social Security. So between those three things, her income exceeds that 28.29. I think it was like around 3,700 a month or something. She requires 24-hour care. She has severe cerebral palsy. There's no way that that is enough to take care, to provide for the personal support so that she can remain in her home. She owns a van, she owns her home, and she has this income of like about $3,800 between her pension from teaching, her Social Security, and her husband's VA, and he passed away. So that's where the qualified income trust comes in. Obviously, it's over that 28.29. So the additional money that's over that goes into this QIT every month, and then she pays her bills from that. So that's where, there are ways that are set up. There are financial products, and I want to say it's not necessarily a loophole. I mean, if you think about it, this program is set up so that people are able to actually reside in their community, in their home. But $3,800 a month. I mean, that's less than $48,000 a year. You can't purchase a 24-hour personal support with that money. It's just not enough. So that's where you really, she needs to have that to pay for her expenses and all that stuff, but At the same time, it's definitely not enough for what she needs in order to live in her home. So, like I said, there's ways to still maintain your Medicaid eligibility, but yet be over the asset limit, be over the income limit, but you have to make sure that the money is actually being put into those Medicaid allowable assets, like a special needs trust, like an ABLE account, like a qualified income trust, the QIT, all those things. So there's definitely ways around it. It's just a matter of being, educated on it and well versed on that. So that PowerPoint. Now I want to show you guys, I want to share something else. I wonder if I could just drag this over. Are you guys able to see what I dragged over or no?
No, I'm not seeing anything new.
Okay, then let me do the share thing again. Share this. So when you need to apply for Medicaid through the Department of Children and Families, there's definitely, you know, there's a new portal now. It used to be where you would just need to have a username and a password. Now you need to have an individual email address and a password. If you are on the waiver, or your son or daughter or relative, I should say, is on the waiver, the support coordination agency that they're with is able to set up something called a community partner portal status. It takes a little bit to set it up, but it's something that we're able to do that. But it's I want to show you guys something else. I'm sorry I have to keep like flip back and forth. This is weird for me. But in the regular DCF portal, I want to show you guys where to go. So this is where you would go to apply for Medicaid and through the Department of Children and Families in Florida. You would click right here on log in. If you have a support coordinator, or your relative does, this is where we go to log in. We go down here. And when we log in, we're putting in, a username, a password, and then we get a push through to our phone for a code. But when you go in to apply, you have to click on here to log in, and you would either log in here or you would create an account. When you do that and you go in and you are ready to apply for Medicaid, this is what you would need to make sure that you're doing. And this gets very tricky sometimes with people, but I've done screenshots of it and I've sent this out to people. But when you get in there and you need to select particular things so that you're going to the right Medicaid, this is like the first page. You can see it like kind of under 26, age out of foster care. It starts right here. The one where I have the red arrow, this is the one that needs to be selected. This doesn't even sound like it would be the iBudget waiver. It has waiver in parentheses. Very important, because some people would select this one, right? This one makes sense. Over 65, blind or disabled. And unfortunately, when you click that, it doesn't give you full Medicaid, unfortunately. When you're on the iBudget waiver, you need this one. You need the one that has waiver in parentheses. And then you would select also this. This is on another screen, that this is for a person with a disability. And it says it right here, is a person with a physical, mental, emotional, or developmental disability. And everybody that is on the iBudget waiver, everybody that is a client of the Agency for Persons with Disabilities, has a developmental disability. The Agency for Persons with Disabilities really should have been named the Agency for Persons with Developmental Disabilities, because it's the only segment of the disability population that is served by that state agency. It's very misleading, I think, to just have Agency for Persons with Disabilities. There's over 5 million people in Florida with a classified disability. And I've said this before, like if you have rheumatoid arthritis, that's a disability, but it's not a developmental disability. So APD only serves developmental disabilities. So Down syndrome, spina bifida, cerebral palsy, autism, those are developmental disabilities and has occurred prior to the age of 18, diagnosed before 18, and you have proof of it as well. So here you have to select that. And then also on one of the other uh, screens, you have to select that you're applying for or getting HCBS waiver, home and community-based services. That's what HCBS stands for, home and community-based services. That's what the iBudget waiver is about. So very important to make sure that, you know, this is the one that's being selected, the waiver one, the one that says at risk of nursing home or hospitalization, and waiver in parentheses. It's unfortunate because we've definitely had a lot of people who have selected, you know, if we get them in our agency and then they've been put on, you know, a Medicaid category that's not compatible with the iBudget waiver. If they're put on something called medically needy or share of cost, those are not full Medicaid programs. So it doesn't work with the iBudget waiver. One of the other things, and I don't know if anybody on here has been affected by this, but a lot of folks have been dropped from Medicaid recently. They have been just terminated. We are in our 17th month of it right now. I've been heavily advocating about this. I was in Tallahassee last week. I got up in front of the Senate. I got up in front of the House. I talked about it. And one of the things I'm going to share with you guys now is a very short video that is about the fair hearing request process. And I want to show you, I'm going to open this up and show you about the fair hearing online. But this thing is driving me crazy with how it pops down like that. Hang on, I'm sorry, you guys. Trying to get to the video, but where is it? Hang on, I'm sorry. This thing like keeps popping down for um, the Zoom meet, and I'm not able to see the whole thing. So give me 1 second. Thought I had opened this up for you under this. Now it's opening. Okay. I'm gonna just hit this. It's about 3 minutes, and this is about the fair hearing process. Are you able to see this? Is it big enough?
I can see it, but I cannot hear it.
Yeah, I can't hear it either. I'm not sure what that's about. Let me see. I don't know, this thing with the Zoom just keeps like popping down and it's like I can't move. Oh, there it is. I'm able to move it. Yay. So sorry about that. Let me see if I can get this to. I'm really sorry about my technical difficulties, you guys, with this. Let me see. Hang on. I think you can hear it now. I'm going to restart it. Can you hear it now? Is anybody able to hear it or no?
Very, very, very faintly.
Let me see if I turn it up on my end. Hang on.
Fight against cuts or denials of the Medicaid's.
There we go. That's good.
Trying to turn it up.
Decide which services you receive, so it's important to take it seriously. If you think a decision about your services is wrong, you should ask for a hearing. But the fair hearing process can be confusing, so let's try to break it down. Medicaid managed care organizations, MCOs, or state Medicaid agencies may sometimes cut or deny your services. If they do, you should receive a letter called a denial notice. It's important to understand everything in the letter so that you're ready to advocate.
I'm sorry.
Let's take a closer look. There are 4 things that should be in the letter. 1, there should be a clear explanation of what is changing or has been denied. For example, maybe they are decreasing your physical therapy services from 3 days a week to 1, or denying a request for a new prosthetic limb. 2. There should also be a specific reason why they made that decision. If the letter just says that the service isn't medically necessary and nothing else, that's not enough. 3. The MCO or state Medicaid agency also has to include which laws or rules they say support their decision. 4. It's important to know that you may have as little as 10 days after receiving the letter to request a hearing so that your services stay the same during the process. They need to tell you what they're doing, why they're doing it, and how you can respond. So what about the hearing itself? Your fair hearing is a chance for you to explain why you need the services they're denying or trying to take away. So before the hearing, make sure you gather plenty of evidence to support your case. Evidence might include receipts related to your medical care or notes from a doctor. The hearing isn't always in a courtroom. It's over the phone most of the time, but it's still a serious, confidential, legal meeting. There may be several people participating in the hearing, including witnesses, the MCO or state Medicaid agency representative, and a hearing officer who will listen to you and make the final decision. Make sure you explain your needs clearly and completely. The services you're fighting for impact your everyday life. After the hearing officer will make a decision about your services. A written decision will be sent to you sometime after the hearing. They may disagree with you, and your services can be cut or denied, or they may agree with you, and your services can be approved. You deserve to have the services you need. Medicaid fair hearings play an important role in deciding what services you receive, so make sure you're ready to advocate. For more information, contact Disability Rights Florida at disabilityrightsflorida.org or by calling 800-342-0823.
So I have been very busy with applying or requesting fair hearings. This right here, just I don't know if you guys can see, this is a stack of fair hearing requests that our agency has done. And this is just, I mean, today's Thursday. This is just this week of the ones that I've been able to get reinstated. I'm filing the fair hearing request because that's the way that we're getting Medicaid reinstated relatively quickly in a way. They're doing it basically like a day or two before the fair hearing is actually scheduled. So this is if you have somebody that has been kicked off of Medicaid in Florida, and keep in mind again, you have to make sure that the asset limits are below $2,000. They can just deny it for that reason alone. Oh, these bank statements, it's showing, over $2,000. That's enough for them to deny, Medicaid, which is really ridiculous. I mean, they need to increase that line a little bit, but they still haven't. So if you are requesting a fair hearing, you can go to it's myfloridafamilies.com/fair hearings. And you go here and you request online request for a public assistance hearing and you complete it if you're either the applicant or you're representing. So we fill it out as we're representing that person, and then I put my information here, and then I put the applicant's information here, and then I will, click off that I'm appealing the Medicaid denial. If there's a date on a notice that says that, your Medicaid is ending January 31st, you would put the date of that notice in here. And if your Medicaid has not ended yet, but you've received a notice that it's going to, this is really important because this will actually keep your Medicaid on while that fair hearing process is going on. So it says, what actions are you appealing? I would put, like termination of ongoing benefits, if that's what it is, or if it's a reduction or something, or an application denial. But then down here, if the department's action is a reduction or termination of benefits, are you seeking continued benefits while the hearing is pending? You betcha. Yes, we are. And then down here is where we will generally put an explanation. I don't ever leave this blank, but I'll spell it out in here, that John Smith is a client of the Agency for Persons with Disabilities. He is an I-budget waiver recipient. He's received a notice that his Medicaid is going to be terminating January 31st. he requires full Medicaid in order to receive his services under the I-budget waiver. There is no need to, or no reason to end his Medicaid. He is below the asset limit. He's within the income limit. All of the forms, the 2515 level of care, all the forms, financial release have been submitted to DCF or uploaded to the DCF portal. Please don't end his Medicaid. And that's it. And then there's one last question on here. Will you need a special accommodation? If you do, you click yes, and then you hit submit. And then you will get a letter at some point that will, we've received two. We received a letter that says we received your fair hearing request. We're going to send out another letter with the date and time of the fair hearing, and then we'll get that fair hearing, letter that actually states when it's scheduled for. And I have attended one fair hearing. All of the fair hearings are getting, it's getting resolved prior to actually going to the fair hearing. I'm getting calls from DCF workers saying, hey, we've reinstated this person's Medicaid, we've made it retroactive, you can withdraw the request for the fair hearing. And this is just how we're handling it within our agency, but if we have somebody who's received a fair hearing date, and it is February 4th that their fair hearing is, and their Medicaid has already been reinstated this month, I'm not rescinding that fair hearing until I check their Medicaid in the beginning of February. So February 1st and 2nd is a Saturday and a Sunday. And what doesn't matter what day or if it's a holiday that the first falls on, in our agency, we check everybody's Medicaid on the first of the month. I need to know, I have to know for my own sanity, if anybody else has been inadvertently dropped. And just to give you guys an idea of it, in November, we had 68 people drop. December 1st, 73 people dropped. January 1st, 22 people dropped. And it's not a phone call to get this reinstated. It is taking an absolute monumentous amount of work. And this whole thing is unprecedented. We've never had to do this. I've been a support coordinator since the beginning of the waiver program, which was in 1993. And prior to COVID, we never had a problem like this. But what happened was during COVID, a lot of people lost their jobs and they went on Medicaid, and not our folks, other people outside of the I-budget waiver. And then when the feds gave the go-ahead to start unwinding people that no longer really needed to be on Medicaid, they lumped our group in with all of those other people. And just to give you an idea of the numbers, in December of 22, there were over 5.5 million people in Florida on Medicaid, which is a staggering number if you think about it. 5.57 million people. So 5,570,000 people in Florida on Medicaid, December of 22. In the spring of 2023, the feds gave the go-ahead to start unwinding people. The I-budget waiver people, there are less than 36,000 I-budget waiver recipients. They mixed less than 36,000 people with developmental disabilities in with millions, 5.5 million people. And they have been, their cases are being reviewed by people that have absolutely no idea what an I-budget waiver recipient is. They're used to just looking at Medicaids and stuff like that for, people that are not APD clients. But APD and DCF have not communicated to fix this problem. And now we're in the 17th month of it, and it is it's ridiculous. I mean, we've had a number of people that have been dropped, reinstated, dropped, reinstated. And like I said, it doesn't just take a phone call to do it. It's a ton of work, so much work that just our agency alone has had to hire 3 additional administrative personnel just to help us with Medicaid, because it's that much. So again, it's something that was unprecedented. We never had that before, ever. Our folks never, their Medicaid was not touched. And the occasionally we would get a letter, but prior to COVID, that would say, somebody's Medicaid was ending, January 31st. And the reason why we didn't receive, proof of income, no problem. We would get a Social Security award letter, which is very important for you to keep. If you get if somebody that you're, caring for has Social Security, SSI, it's important to keep that award letter when Social Security sends it to you, because DCF sometimes wants to see it. So when, before COVID, we would just send that in, and there would be no lapse, and they would just approve it, and that would be that. Now, like, it's all hell's broken loose in DCF, and it's just a disaster. It's absolute disaster. And so I know this is being recorded and maybe other people will see it, but I have been very vocal about this now, especially because it's not ending. It doesn't seem to be ending. But I did receive a phone call yesterday from DCF, from a supervisor, telling me that they had a big meeting the day before on Tuesday, and that they're not supposed to end anybody else's Medicaid that is an I-budget waiver recipient. And if any DCF workers get a recertification for Medicaid now, and it is somebody that's an I-budget waiver recipient, they are supposed to stop, not touch it, and give it to a specialized DCF worker. So hopefully it's coming to an end, but it's been a lot of work to try to get it to that. But the bottom line is that our folks should never be dropped from Medicaid. They're clients of APD, and just because they're dropped from Medicaid doesn't mean that they no longer have a developmental disability or that they no longer need services. What it means generally is that most of their providers have to continue to provide services for free, because you can't just abandon somebody when they need help. If you have cerebral palsy and you're in a wheelchair and you rely on somebody to come into your house that's being paid for by the I-budget waiver to help get you out of bed in the morning and to help transfer you, to help feed you, that provider can't just stop providing services because that person's Medicaid has inadvertently been ended by DCF. So this has been in the news. NBC did a story on it with Lester Holt. I think it was in August or September. There's been a number of articles written. You could just Google, people on Medicaid being dropped in Florida, something like that, and it'll pop up. So it's been going on for a while. I'm not sure if anybody on this video has been affected by it. I hope that you have not. But if you have, filing a fair hearing request is definitely a way to, to help get it reinstated. Don't just give up on it. And if you have a support coordinator, they really should be helping you, with this. I really do try to take the burden of that off of our support coordinators, because they have so much else to do, which is why we hire those additional people. But the support coordination agency should be helping in some capacity, whether it's the support coordinator directly, or if it's like how we're handling it, where we have a additional folks that are just working on Medicaid. So, but keeping the assets below the 2,000, super important, like way important. That is something I can't stress that enough. But that's it. The end. Are there any questions?
Thank you so much, Melissa. Did anyone have any questions for her? So I have one question that I know people have asked a lot about, is the new managed care for Medicaid for the specifically, I think that what's rolled out recently has been the managed care for the medical benefits.
Yes. And there has also been, that's something that we were actually expecting, but we've also had issues going on with Medicare managed care plans as well. That for some reason that has come up. This right here is something that the Agency for Healthcare Administration put together, and it's a two-pager thing about the managed care plan. And so what this is that everybody in the state of Florida, regardless if you're on the I-budget waiver or what, doesn't matter, if you are on straight Medicaid, so you're not already on a managed care Medicaid plan, you are going to be auto-enrolled onto one February 1st, unless you opt out. That is what this is about. So there's and it says it right here on the top here. These, hang on, right here specifically. Under new contracts, iBudget recipients or those in the pre-enrollment category, which used to be called the wait list. I still call it the wait list because how can you be in pre-enrollment for 2 decades? You know, it doesn't make any sense. Anyway, so oh, and I want to tell you the reason why they changed that, and I found I nobody like said this. I kind of discovered it. The reason why they changed it from not calling it a wait list anymore to pre-enrollment is because there was legislation that was passed about 25 almost 26 years ago called the Olmstead Act, Olmstead, and states have to provide community-based services, and you can't have a wait list. So it's basically semantics. So they changed it from wait list to pre-enrollment because Florida's been in violation of having a wait list to get onto this program. So anyway, I'm sorry, I digress. But anyway, what this is iBudget recipients or people that are on the wait list pre-enrollment will receive an assignment to a managed care plan for their Medicaid state services, and then they may opt out of the managed care plan and remain in the FFS Medicaid, which stands for fee for service. That also is straight Medicaid. That's the same thing. Fee for service is straight Medicaid. So you can opt out by calling that number or logging in here, but you need to set up an account. This is not something that the support coordinator sets up. We don't set up those Medicaid accounts in the ACA portal. So that's, or their managed care portal. But you would go to, that website and try to opt out there. It goes through, like about the managed care plans. It also is gonna, talk about the plans and the stuff that they might offer if you stay on a plan. But then right here, what if I don't want to enroll? It says it again. Simple. It hasn't been so simple though. And February 1st and 2nd, like I said, it's a Saturday and a Sunday. We will be in our agency. We will be pulling everybody's Medicaid screens from the portal from January and February so that we can compare them and see, because I know that we've had families that have been opting out, but they're not 100% positive if it actually like worked what they did. So we're gonna figure that out on that weekend, and then we're gonna let people know. We'll send Medicaid screens to folks, and you can ask your support coordinator to go into the Medicaid portal and pull your loved one's Medicaid screen so that you can ask them to pull the one from January and the one from February so that you can actually take a look at it, and it'll say right on there, it'll tell you if somebody is on a managed care plan or not. And I'm sorry, I would pull one of them up, but it's going to have a client's information on there, and I can't do that, so I'm sorry. But anyhow, that's something that you can look at. But this, I can send this to Becca. She can send this out to you guys if you don't have it already, and then you can opt out if you want. You can also try out the plan, the managed care plan that you're assigned to, or your loved one is assigned to. And if you don't like it, then you can opt out. You will not be able to just do it in the middle of the month. That's not something, like they're not going to change anything in the middle of the month. So if you haven't opted out now and you're going to try it and you get toward the end of February and it's not something you want, then you got to opt out or be effective for March 1st. If you wait until March 2nd to opt out, you're not going to be able to be back on fee for service until April 1st because you're already into March at that point.
Could I ask a question?
Yeah,
Yes. Ooh, that was really,
I have a question.
yes.
Are these managed Medicaid, managed care plans, are these like a Medicare Advantage plan?
So it's it's similar in a way. If you have somebody that is on Medicare and they have that Advantage plan, that is actually a managed care Medicare plan.
Right.
So it is similar. So there's there's Simply, there's Sunshine, there's, hang on, we've received a number of these handouts. I don't know if you guys are able to see that from the statewide managed care plan. And it actually has the information of the different managed care plans on the back. And also they have a kind of a chart basically of what those plans offer. And I know that there is a way to pull that up on ACA's website to be able to actually see that. And I can
Our
see,
support coordinator, when I got this information, I guess it was a month or so ago, I called our coordinator who was with your organization, and she asked me if the Medicare that our daughter received when she needed medical care was sufficient, and did she have any problem with her prescription coverage? And she was always covered completely, never a problem.
right,
So the suggestion was, well, if it's not broke, you don't need to fix it.
right?
And so I went into the portal to try to opt out,
Mhm.
and they have so many, you have to fill out form after form after form. And so then I ended up calling our support coordinator again, telling her about all of this, the hoops. And then she put me on to Dawson, who
Okay.
is it? Yes. So my question is that now that we have the prescription, the UHC prescription card, which seems to be working fine.
Okay.
If with regard to the actual medical coverage, is it automatically going to be assigned by February 1st? Or can we can opt out of that at any time? Is that what I'm
So
understanding?
yep, you can so your daughter has Medicare and Medicaid?
Yes,
Okay, so Medicare pays 80% and
right,
Medicaid will pay the 20%. So
right.
as long as if she was on straight Medicaid, for what you have is, your Medicare, if you're on the UH, or she's on the UHC plan, and she had straight Medicaid, what they're looking to do is change the straight Medicaid to another managed care company. So let's say like her prescription coverage, that's under Medicare. When somebody goes on Medicare, the prescriptions are under that. They're under
Right.
usually that Part D. But when she goes to the doctor, let's say,
Right.
if the doctor is accepting, that UHC Medicare plan, which pays 80%, and the doctor would normally accept the straight Medicaid to pay the 20% that Medicare doesn't cover. If that doctor is not enrolled on whatever managed care plan your daughter gets put on, then the 20% is not going to be covered.
Gotcha.
That's the thing. So if the
Okay.
doctor is like, yeah, I'm enrolled on Sunshine, and she got assigned to Simply, that wouldn't work. You
Okay.
want to make sure, and I have a number of families that are like, my doctor will accept Medicaid for that 20%, but only straight Medicaid.
Right.
So they
Okay.
definitely have had to do that. Yeah,
Okay. So I should check with her doctor to see if she will accept that as the balance due when Medicare's pays their part.
correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question.
Ooh. It's really weird. Yes. I
I'm,
don't know why it was like
I'm
echoey like that, but yeah.
so for some reason I'm getting this weird noise.
Yeah, I don't know how to.
Can you try typing your question in the chat, maybe?
Okay. Well, maybe I can just ask it.
Go ahead, I can hear you.
My son is on what I understood to be a waiting list. And originally, after we moved here, probably about a year and a half ago, we applied for Medicaid as we were instructed. He is in APD, but I don't know that we have a support coordinator. We have had visits from someone from APD, and we've done all the paperwork. At one time, he was eligible for Medicaid, but then the next year, when the renewal came up, I tried to do it myself online, And from seeing the check boxes that you suggested, I probably chose the wrong checkbox, and then he was no longer eligible. So what should I do? Should I call APD and find out who my support coordinator is, or should I call the DCF and ask how to clarify all that? Because
you're
they
not-
asked about all of my income and my retirement accounts and all of this kind of stuff.
All right,
And
and
you
that
had
right
mentioned
there,
that-
I'm so sorry. One of the things that I did not say, and this is very important, every single person that is on the iBudget waiver when it comes to Medicaid is a household of one, even a 6-year-old kid. The parent's income, nothing factors into it. They're always a household of one. You don't ever put your income on there. As far as you having a support coordinator or your son, did you say that he's on the wait list, or you're not sure if he's on the wait list?
He's on the wait list, yes.
Then he wouldn't have a support coordinator just yet.
Oh,
So you get a support coordinator when you come off of the wait list. It's the one service that you have to have. But as far as like the Medicaid is concerned, did he have full Medicaid at one point?
no, he had more of a catastrophic type of program. If he spent more than X dollars a month, they would help, but that
Right.
never happened.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, if he is if he is on the wait list and not on the waiver program, then he would not have a support coordinator. So yes, I would recommend that you call APD. Start with them first. Start with your waiver, not waiver, your wait list coordinator. You should have a wait list coordinator, and tell them that, you've been trying to apply for Medicaid and you need help, but do not put your income, your assets, none of that stuff in there.
All right, because that's what I did, and I think that was April of last year. So
Mhm.
recently, I got a request for more paperwork, and I had to share that denial, that he was not eligible. So it's just so confusing. I
It
I don't
is.
know what to do.
They make it exceptionally confusing and difficult. And the thing is, though, that if he's not on the actual waiver and he's on the wait list and stuff, is he an adult?
Yes, he's
Okay.
50 years old. He's going to be 51 this year.
All right. So then he should be applying as a household of one anyway. But when you're on the waiver program, like I said, if it's a child, even it's a household of one. We don't put anybody else on there. If you were applying for Medicaid for your entire household, if you needed it and he needed it, then it's different. But if you're just applying for him, then it's just him.
Okay. So that was my error. I'll just have to wait and see, or I'll call APD to see if there's something I need to do to clarify all that.
And if he needs services, you can work on trying to get him off of the wait list. And, he has to meet the criteria of crisis, which is unfortunately, if he's a danger to himself or others, if he is in danger of being homeless, or if his care provider can't take care of him anymore. However, they also, if he's 50, then I'm assuming that you're over 60 at this point. So they just lowered that this past year for the care provider. It did say that before that the care provider had to be over 70. Now it's over 60. So I would contact your waitlist coordinator, and I would say, that you need help, you're getting older, and you're not able to meet all of his needs at this point, and he needs to come off of the wait list and onto the waiver.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Any other questions? No?
All right.
Okay.
Thank you so much again, Melissa. This
Sure.
was really great information. if anybody continues to have any other questions, we will be posting this recording on the Loveland page. So you're able to refer back to it at later times. Awesome. Thank you. Have a fantastic night.
Thanks, you guys. Have a good one. Bye.